Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Usability Testing. My apology, I have another class just before this class that it's really tight, so I'm very sorry, but glad to see you. We are in week 3. Time is going really fast. So this week we're going to be diving right into usability testing. There's so much to cover. This is the topic of this class. So there is so much to cover, and this is the first time I teach this class at Humber, and I'm using some of the material from the previous class. But if I feel that in the event that we need to spend more time on usability testing per se, then that is also something that we can do. So far, we're not changing anything to the schedule or the plan. We are going as planned, but if we feel that we need to spend maybe more time on the specific activity, then that might be okay. Maybe something else we may actually remove something else that may not necessarily be related to usability testing. That is also okay. But I will definitely make sure that we have enough time, we're spending enough time on usability testing, which is what this course is about. And the rest then will become accessory. But there's a lot. This week is a very busy week. So let's jump in right into this week's content. This is a short session. We are in this for less than an hour. So now we're really going into usability testing. So far we've been talking about very high level. What is usability testing? Why do we do? Some of the trigger, why would we even begin to do usability testing? And we've learned multiple reasons. There's many reasons why we may want to do usability testing. It could be data, it could be insights, it could be that we're seeing that we're getting a lot of people are actually abandoning. We are getting a lot of phone calls. We're getting data saying that people are actually not using online as much as we think they should. Why? So multiple things that may trigger a test. But let's say that we've come to the decision of doing a test. This is what we're going to go in. So we're going to be talking about test planning. So this week is about planning, usability testing and planning. How do we decide the research objective? Who are the users? Who are we going to bring in the participants? So we are in a mindset of formal usability testing. You may do informal usability testing, but whether you do formal or informal, you still need to ask yourself these questions, but it's just going to be at different degrees, right? And then we're going to talk about the recruitment process. How do we recruit those participants? Who will we recruit? NDA, consent form. Why do we do non-disclosure consent form? And then how do we plan the meeting with the team stakeholder to define and decide on what the tests will be and what we're going to be focusing on. Before we jump, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. Reminders: we have first assignment, the heuristic assignment number 1 is due February 4th, so that is Thursday midnight. So you have until Thursday midnight. There's a late penalty applying, 5% per day being late to a time. I think it's 5 days where you get 0 marks. So you don't want to get there. You've had assignment number 1 has been posted. You've had some lab to help you. If there are any questions, which I have received and I've posted feedback, so everybody gets a chance to hear feedback or questions. The chances are, if someone asks, other people do too. And then we have assignment number 2, which is also coming. So make sure that you are on top for assignment number 1, because you need assignment number 1 to start thinking about your assignment number 2 as well. And if at this point, as your team, if you've done nothing about assignment number 1, you really have to do some catch up, because you need assignment number 1 to be able to do assignment number 2 and consequently everything in the semester. So some parts of assignment number 2 will be done in class, some part will be outside of class, and the assignment has different dates, multiple dates. There is a final date for a final report, but there's some dates in between now and February 25th that you're gonna need to meet as milestone that you're gonna have to submit. You'll be submission. I have more details we're gonna review together. That will be for assignment number 2. Actually, we're gonna do that tomorrow. Today, we're really gonna talk about the details of getting ready for our testing. So very important for assignment number 1. Don't miss it. Diving into. So when we say usability testing, but before I do, are there any questions about the assignment or anything about the assignment that is due for this week? I hope you all started. Okay, so when we say usability testing, there are multiple roles involved in the testing, and you in your team will need to play the role at least each role at least once or twice. It's going to be important that you rotate among your team. So it's going to be hard to be the client. I think I'm the client, but you may want to have someone who's going to be acting like the client on your team. But you consider me as a stakeholder. There will be a moderator, the person who's going to be conducting the session. There'll be a participant. There'll be someone who's actually performing the user task, the scenarios, the things you're going to give them to do. There's going to be a note taker. You're going to have someone who will take notes. And then you're going to have observer most likely as well. I have some tips on how you can manage the observer, because you're going to see some of them want to jump across the mirror from time to time. So you need to be very, very skilled at managing them. Now, usability testing, you are going to be in charge. You're taking this class. So that means you're going to be this expert in usability testing. You're going to be leading the research. It is a research. It's a research methodology. We've learned it's a research, observation-based research. You want to get insights. It's not just insight. You want to see it for yourself. It's a research methodology to understand what is happening with a website. With the website, you've already at this point as a team decided on the web. You've decided on the brand. You've decided on the website. You have user goals. You spend time on the assignment. The assignment number one is to prepare you to know where are we going to be focusing our tests. That was really, really it. The assignment number one is your input to what the usability testing will do and where you'll be focusing on. But you each going to play the role of moderator, participant, and note taker on a note of note taking. So these slides are available for you. I don't think we're going to go through all the details, but we're going to practice this. And then I'm going to be involved in your in the assignment, in your participation. At some point, I will be the participants. I will come into some rooms and be the observer and look at how you do, how you facilitate. Some of the marks are satisfactory or unsatisfactory as well. That will be very, very important. But when we get there, you will see. But this assignment number one has a specific percentages, and then the assignment number two has a percentages assigned to it too. So when you're on the note taker, you're silent, you take notes. Very, very important to take notes. You're going to need use a way of coding your notes, right? So everybody's different. You all have different style. You may read more about how do we take good notes in the usability sessions, but you may label things. Or you may, what I do is I take notes. I say negative, I put negative in front in the circle. Positive, I put positive in the circle. And then I make notes of what I see. And then eventually you will see from session one, you're going to have a lot of notes. For session two, maybe you're going to have similar number of notes. Maybe session three, you're going to have similar but different notes. But at some point, you're going to see that things are repeated. And you may actually, you will know if you're the note taker and you'll be taking note. You will know if you've already noted something. And you may just say, you may just code it and code issues navigating, issues accessing, buying clothes online. And you already know that you've noted, but now you're thinking about instances and frequencies. Now, as a moderator, when you start and you're going to be starting, it's going to be hard for you to do everything well. So you probably don't want to take notes. But me, I have done session on my own with just a participant. I've been moderating and I've been taking notes because I've done it so many times that I can do both of that. But at the beginning, you probably don't want to. You want to focus this as a moderator on the participants. You want to make sure that you're facilitating and not leading questions, and you're doing a good job at getting them through your test scenario, and then really facilitating and making them comfortable. Inquiring when you feel that it's time to inquire, but we're going to talk more about during. But today, the focus is about getting ready and then dealing with the observers. So I have some notes about what you should do or consider when you have the observer, the client behind the wall, for you to read as well, but it will happen. You will invite clients. And in fact, one of the reasons why we do usability testing in a formal setup, if you remember, sometimes it's to educate, bring awareness and educate about how bad their website is. And maybe the business, people inside the business have tried. Maybe you have been working at a business for so long and no, people have just not been listening. You've been showing them data and they always have a good excuse. They say, well, but. And then at some point you say, you know what? We're going to do usability testing. Give me $5,000 or don't even give me anything. Bring customer in. and then do it yourself. Do it with a colleague. You facilitate, you have a colleague or another UX person to take notes with you. You book a room, and then you bring customer, you pay them the incentive, $100, and you do that for 5, 10 cents. And then you bring insight to what happened. You can record, and then you record the sessions, right? It's so easy nowadays. You can be recording, and we will. All of our testing will be moderated. Well, for this assignment, it's moderated testing. So there'll be a moderator, and you'll be recording the sessions using Zoom or using Teams or using Collaborator if you want. And then anybody can watch. Anybody can watch the session. It's an eye-opener, right? So very, very important. Now, if we look back at the step of usability testing, we said there are at least 7. So this assignment and this week labs and everything we'll do will be about getting ready for step number 5, which is to conduct the session. So we have a lot of things that we need to do before we get into a room with the participant. It starts with planning the test, recruiting the participant, preparing material, and setting up the environment. The environment here, because we're remote, we're moderated remote, it's going to be on the computer, Teams or Zoom, whatever, wherever you want to bring the participants. So, but us, we're going to use Collaborate, so I can actually come into a room and I can see, and we can record. You can record the sessions as well. I don't know if you can record the session in breakouts, and the breakout session can actually be recording your own session. That I don't know. I would probably need to find out. Breakout. Do we have anybody who knows if the recording in breakouts actually records breakout sessions individually on screen? Okay, yeah, I know. I think I saw a faculty member asking too. If not, then we're going to do Zoom, or we're going to do Teams, and then we'll invite, and they'll be invited, and not a big deal. There's always a solution. Great. So this was to give you this framework, the mindset of where are we in the 7th step? Where are we in the journey? Yes. Hi, Anya. Oh, sorry. I thought someone has spoken. Okay, so this is a very useful checklist. So especially you're going to be new, right? You're not going to know. And this, when you think of doing a usability testing, it's a project. It's a project, and unfortunately, you're often going to be the one who's going to be doing the project management too. So you're going to be doing the project management for all the activities to make sure that everything gets done on time. And I said, if it's a formal, which we're talking about formal usability testing, anywhere 4 to 6 weeks. And I would say if you're new, give yourself at least 4 to 6 weeks. From the moment that you think of doing a test, it's probably going to take you to 4 to 6 weeks from thinking of let's do a test to reporting and presenting. 4 to 6 weeks can easily go by. You probably need 2 weeks for preparation. What takes the longest for preparation? It's recruiting the participants as well. Depending on the product, depending on what you're trying to test, depending on how advanced your participants are, then you're going to need more incentive, you're going to need more time because they're harder to find. But 4 to 6 weeks is probably good. But as new, I would say aim for 6 weeks as well. So I give you a little checklist so that you can actually check and say, have I done all the things? So you will need to do this for your assignment. You will need to do this in practice for your assignment. The first thing, I'm just going to go through the list quickly. You have to establish what are the goals? Why are we doing this usability testing? So why are we doing the usability testing? Perhaps we found that we are actually losing customer. We have customer are dropping off a purchase flow. Maybe I work for Roots, and I notice at Roots that maybe we get a lot of visits from mobile phone, but few people are converting. And I'm concerned because my conversion used to be higher. It's lower now for the same amount of visits. So something is happening on site that I don't know. And I want to do usability testing. This is it. And then maybe I just want to test the buy flow, the purchase flow. Maybe I want to experiment in the test environment, how people actually use my categories, my filters, many things. So we don't know, but we just have people dropping off. Then what are we going to be testing? So perhaps we're testing a new site. Maybe we're testing a prototype. Maybe we're in design. Or maybe we just want to test their existing website. So if you remember, we've done some lab where I believe Metro, we've looked at Metro as a grocery store. I'm teaching several classes and I lose track of where and who is what. Metro. So we've looked at Metro and we said Metro is, has some goods and some challenges. Maybe you pick Metro, but you all have a site at this point, and then you've done the heuristic evaluation, and then the sites are live sites. So for you, it's all going to be live site. then who are going to be the users? Who are the users? Typically, it will be the people that it will depend on the user goals that you want to tackle. But you've already done the exercise. I've asked you, think of a user group, think of a new customer, maybe who's not, but who's thinking of maybe buying your product, or maybe he's buying the product with the competitor, right? The type of test. So we are going to be all testing test sites that are live. So you're formative. You want to inform. You actually want to find out what is good, what is not so good, and you want to validate maybe some of your concerns that you find in a heuristic. Maybe you want to do comparative website testing as well. Maybe you want to see how is your site in comparison to your competitor for those specific user and those specific user goals. So there is specific terminology in the deck that you will learn about. But if I'm giving you links, so not in here, but in the PowerPoint, you can actually, and I'm not sure if PDF will allow you, to actually click and then be able to get to the section. This deck has 150 pages, okay? So we are not going to go through all of them. There'll be some reading on your own, and there'll be some work that you're going to need to do outside of class. Obviously, but you can use a checklist. It's a very, very good starting point, and there's more details for each one of them. Determine where you'll be testing. Here we're doing formal testing. We're probably thinking of a lab, but you may not be in a lab. Well, actually, we are going to be remote. So for our case, we are going to be remote testing, but you're going to be recording the sessions and people will have access. So, and these so far are items that you will be discussing with your stakeholder, with your client. Incentive. So you will give an incentive. People are not going to come for free. If you're doing a test for a law website for lawyers or people that are looking for law services, but if let's say you're doing a site for lawyers, it will be very expensive for you to bring a lawyer in. If you're doing a website for medical, for doctors, for people that are practicing in hospital, it will cost you a lot more money than you would actually a website for maybe for Metro, for grocery shopping. So that is a very important element. Then your screener, there'll be a step. So once we know the user and we know who's going to come, you're going to do the screening, the user. So the screener, I have a reading that talks about how do you do good screening. There are a lot of details about doing screener as well in this deck that you can use. But really, let's say that your site is, I have some sites in here from some of the class. Mini in a box. And there was a team who was actually thinking of Expedia as well. I don't know what we chose, but Mini in a box. So unless it's changed, Mini in the box is a site where I can buy mini items. It looks, I can buy pretty much anything. And I think from what I remember, it was something like Amazon. It looked like Amazon. And the team, I don't know if you're still doing Mini in the box, but correct me if I'm wrong. So this team has chosen to do Mini in a box, and then they have certainly thought about people that have never bought, people that maybe have bought, maybe that people that, but maybe they're using a competitor, someone similar, or maybe they are an existing customer Mini in the box, and maybe they want to test a specific area that has to do maybe with return to purchase, or placing a complaint. I don't know. So they've done their heuristic and they found users. They found goals of areas that usually will map up to specific type of customer. Now they're probably going to think as far as man or woman. Do we know if more often we have men or if we have more women visiting our site? Your data, your analytics will do. Now, because you're not going to know, you don't have the data, you can make guess, you can make assumptions, but you would have to include that. Why men, why a woman? Maybe it's just going to be 50-50. Maybe you have family. Maybe there's a family. If you're with Expedia, if you chose Expedia, I don't know if the team has chosen Expedia. You have to think about what would be so unique about maybe a participant that I need to recruit for, so that the user goal will match them and it will match my business, what I think is a business, and it will also, it could potentially have an effect or an impact on their experience and what we will find out in a test. So, and maybe not, right? Maybe new or not an existing Expedia customer, or maybe someone who's never bought Expedia, or maybe someone who's actually is about to travel to Expedia, and maybe you want to say family with family of two, or single travel. Maybe that's going to be your market too, your demographic. But you're going to make choices based on your user goal and decisions that you will make, and you need to explain why. But this, I'm hoping that you've already done that in your assignment. You've already decided on groups of users. You've already decided on specific goals that you're going to be exploring. Then you're going to find, you found some issues, and now we're going to say, let's find people to bring them in and test them. So the screener at this point is very, very easy. I would say is probably the easiest part. Nowadays, most people have been online. Most people have bought online. Most people have purchased. Most people have a computer. 20 years ago, we had people that had no computers. We had people that had never bought anything online. We had people that have never placed a purchase online. We had people that maybe would use the technology once, twice a month, once, twice a year, a week. So we had to actually screen for that. But I would say that nowadays we're far from this. But again, you would probably want to recruit people that obviously have used technology, have bought online, and maybe people that are actively looking at maybe buying a new product, or maybe you want to bring people that are actually looking at buying a vacation for Expedia, so that they're in that mindset as well. And it may be with Expedia or not with Expedia. These are things you would decide, and you would tell the screener. Now, what happened with the screener typically is there are companies here in Toronto, or I'm sure anywhere you are, that will do their screening for you. They have a bank of candidates. They will do the screening for you. And I would say pay them. So that's the other cost that I forgot to mention. They would maybe charge you $75 or $50 per head for people that you're recruiting. I would say it's brutal to have to do the recruiting. In my 25 years of career, I have never done my own recruiting for a formal usability testing. I have always used an agency. It's really, really time consuming. You may have to call 20 to get one. You may have to call 50 to get one. Don't do it. It's going to be a waste of your time. You're actually going to fail. So hire a business, hire someone to do it. Even with your own, if you have your own customer and you have a panel of customer, and a lot of company will do this, and maybe you are with a business that has that. You may have a panel of customer that you may actually say and try to recruit for your usability testing. But it's very, very time consuming. And now you're going to have to still profile them. Now, this profile questionnaire, if you're an agency, usually they will call people. And that's the value, the benefit. It's $50, but it's $50 invested well. If you're doing it yourself, then you're going to have a questionnaire that is online. A questionnaire that is very, very easy to understand. A questionnaire that will give you the participants, and then people will want to come. You may be fine. I've done, I think, that at ACV, my own customer, doing email recruiting, and I actually managed to hire them, but it was really time consuming. It's really, really time consuming, something for you to think about. But it's a very, very important piece. There's no point to test with the wrong people. You need to bring the people that are matching and relevant to user and user groups. Are there any questions or comments so far? There's like all of these links means that there's a deck. There's 5, 6, 10 decks or slides specific about each of those topics that you should really read on your own. And I will open up the session after this class. So far, are we good with the questions or the elements? The screener, what you do is, the screener, you're going to use it. The agency who's going to recruit the participant will use the screener. You, as the moderator, what I normally do is I also use the screener again. Maybe I use a shorter version of the screener, but I use a shorter version of the screener at the beginning just to make them comfortable. So you'll be the moderator, and you'll say, thank you, Helena, for coming to our session today. We're happy having you. This is part of the moderator script, okay, that you're going to need to also design. And I think the handbook of usability testing has some examples. If not, I was looking for some examples of recent examples that I have, and I don't know where I put them. But and what happened is they probably are where I was doing testing in my own companies. and then you don't really have time to bring these things with you when you leave the company. So the moderator's grep will say, thank you, so your greeting. We call it the greeting. Thank you, Elena, for coming to the sessions. We really appreciate it. Now you have the option to say, we brought you in today to because we're doing a redesign. Rogers, you may say Rogers, and you probably said that Rogers is looking at improving their website. They're always looking at making it better. They care about the customer, and then we're doing this kind of sessions to really see where we can improve our Rogers website, because we want to make it better for you as a customer. So thank you for coming to the session today. And then before we start, I just have a few questions I want to ask you. So you then could use a screener and say, great, and then you probably have the answer from the screener. The agency will telling you as well. So here's Elena. Elena is a female, age brackets. This is what she does for occupation. Maybe there's occupation that you care about. Maybe you don't care about specific occupation. What you would want to maybe do sometime to exclude is people that web in UX and digital, people that are non-UX designer, people that are not even in marketing, people that are not even in digital. So that, because they're already biased, we're a bunch of, we know, we're connected, we know the community, we're too familiar with technology. Maybe you want to bring people that don't work. And I think I remember in my screener, I would involve that. So excluding, maybe you also want to exclude people that hate Rogers, or hate Bell, or hate TELUS. When you do this screening, you don't want to tell them who you're going to be doing the test for, the research as well. So this is something that you would want to do, tell the agency, and I don't know if the deck really goes into that level, but you want to make note of this. You do not want to tell them who you're going to be doing the research. You're just going to say, and they're used to this, the agency will know what to tell them, but you want to tell the agency, do not tell them that it's for Rogers. Do not tell them, because what happens is if you tell them for Rogers, they're going to go on the site, they're going to be biased. And now they think that they have to do some homework, but you don't want them to do anything. You want them to come. You don't want to give them homework. And then the other thing, not only because it's going to bias them, but on a day before testing, they'll get something that will remind them that tomorrow they have a session, a user research for Rogers, and they're going to go, oh my God, I do not have a chance to go to the Rogers website. They'll panic, and they may actually not show up, and they may cancel. So they may think they have to do homework when they don't, and then they may end up canceling, and you have no show. But I have some tips on no show, what to do for no show. So the screener and the recruiter, you're going to tell them, I want to recruit 5 or 8 people or 10 people. And we're going to talk about the number of users. I don't know if we talk. The number of users, if you're familiar or not. For usability testing, you need 3 to 5 users per user that are in the same group of users. But again, you need to think about, so my user who's not on Expedia, who hasn't traveled, who doesn't have a travel, so he's a new user, and maybe he's a family travel, or maybe it's a single user. How many of those do I need? Maybe you'll say, well, at the minimum you need 3, and the maximum I say you need 5. Unless it's something very specific that you want to use user as well, about those users. So, but I would say 3 to 5 for that is fine. An existing Expedia customer who's about to travel, that you want to test an area of that experience, if you don't care where they're going, if you don't care what they've bought, if you don't care who they bought with, in terms of are they flying Sunwing or WestJet or Transat on Expedia, which I don't think will make a difference, you could also get away with 3 to 5. So you could probably have 10, and that's why we say 5, 6 to 10 is probably what you need to do. 6 to 10, that supposes 2 group of users. So for one user group, I would say 3 to 5. So let's say 5. So if you have someone who's not a customer who's thinking of traveling, then you need 5. Someone who's traveling and you want to test that experience, then it's another 5, then you need 10. So you will tell the recruiter, the screener, for the people that are calling these participants and finding participants for you, we want 10 participants. We have 10 sessions, but we want to recruit no shows as well. So what happens? So let's say that your tests, your sessions, your 10 sessions, you do them over the course of 2 days. Maybe you're going to say, I need 2 floater no shows, 2 floater or 2 no shows. That means you're going to have someone on day 1 who's going to be the extra participant who's going to sit in the lobby in reception, who's going to be there in case one of your 5 participants doesn't show up. Then on day 2, the same thing. On day 2, you have someone who's going to sit at reception in case someone doesn't show, in case one of the 5 doesn't show. So that you have someone ready to show up to do the session, because otherwise you are going to be in the room behind a mirror, no participant for an hour, right? And then you're going to have the clients maybe with you. You're going to have maybe developers. So you always want to have someone. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time. So this is why we have no shows. Do we need to give floaters incentive? Yes, absolutely. Is it the same amount of money than the participant? I think it's sometimes it's lower, but let the agency who's going to do recruiting for you to tell you. But maybe you'd give them a little bit less. But at the same time, think of it. They may be in the reception all day, right? So the floater will be in the reception. So maybe you give them $100 too. It's $100, but get advice from the screening. I don't know if it's changing and how it has changed, but that would be by advice as well. And so you can do 1 floater per day, or maybe you do a floater in the morning and a floater in the afternoon. Maybe you have 2 floater as well. The agencies will be able to tell you what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and what is the amount of money as well that you should consider. So, okay. Now, so could you repeat with a floater? No, you don't want to repeat with a floater. So when a floater has been consumed, let's use consume. So if you've consumed a floater, then this is it. They've done, right? So now you run the risk that there will be a second no-show and you have no floater. It really, really happens. This really, really happens. But you, at the minimum, you need to have a floater. Be prepared that you may actually consume that floater, and that's not the end of the world. So that's okay. At least you may run into a situation that you may have 1 no-show, but the chances are that you have no-show in 1 day, very rarely. But you will know if the recruiter has done a very good job. And this is why you want to give them a good enough incentive for them to show up, right? If you give them an incentive of $25, chances are they will cancel. The incentives that I'm used to deal with is $75 to $100 an hour, and I've seen $100 and $25 with healthcare as well. So this is very, very important because it will show how efficient you are, and you don't want to have wait times. But let's say you have the floater has been consumed, and you have another no-show. It just gives you 1 hour of break, and maybe this is an hour that you actually start maybe thinking about, do we need to adjust something in the test or in our protocol, or the test scenarios, the user test as well. But you want to try to minimize that in the test, okay? So there's more about the screener. Then you have to think about dates. There's testing and there's also deliverables. So think of it, and this is what we are going to do. We have multiple dates. So you're going to decide with your clients when, well, first of all, it depends why you're doing testing. So let's say that you're doing testing on an existing site. Maybe there's no like a definite date because the site is live, right? But they've been suffering and they're really keen about getting doing the usability testing to get inside. So at this point, you have more flexibility. You don't have a launch date. It's already live, right? So your clients are going to have flexibility and say, you know what, if we're okay, if maybe testing, I would say from the moment that you think that you can do testing, and then you have a client that says we want to do usability testing, and they say, well, maybe you want to say, when were you thinking of doing testing? You should at least have 2 weeks before the test, before the first day of testing. And I would say 2 weeks is the minimum, because you will see you're probably going to need 2 weeks to do all your recruiting for the participant. The test material, getting the test material, it's a lot of work the first time. But once you have templates, once you have done a screener, once you have done your introduction, your greeting, once you've done test scenarios, or you've done new scenarios that you want to test, you're going to use a template. It's going to be easy, but you still have work to do, but it's going to be easier. But you need to give yourself at least 2 weeks from the moment you think for a day one of testing to maybe 3 weeks. And I would say if you're new, give yourself more time on an existing site. Give you maybe 3 weeks for the first day of testing. Now, if they want to do usability testing on a prototype or wireframings because they're in design and they have specific deliverables, then maybe they're going to have a date they're going to be imposed on you. But I would say if you're going to do formal testing, which is what we're talking about and trying to design, it's going to be very hard to go with less than 2 weeks because of recruiting. The recruiting and getting the participant is always the biggest challenge because you're first going to need to find an agency. But once you've found an agency that will do the recruiting for you, and if you're in Toronto, you can say recruiting agencies or participant recruiting agencies or survey participant recruiting. Actually, you will find, or just search for market research firm. And often what you will find, those market research firm or usability research firm, they will do the recruiting for you. They will try to sell you on doing the usability testing, but you're also going to need to have a room, right? So on the topic of where you will be doing testing, you will need to find a place where you can do testing. So and there are places in Toronto that have labs for that. So again, you'll need to find a lab, usability testing lab in Toronto or market research lab in Toronto. There are multiple companies. Nowadays, for us, it's easy. We're all doing remote. We're doing over the online. But there are physical testing. And oh my God, like I'm looking for the names of the place that I've used to use at Rogers. And I completely forgot the name of that place. And it's at Spadina and King. So very, very central. Now, that's the other thing. If you're going to do in-person testing, try to do it downtown. You're going to have more people that will be willing to come downtown. That will help you with reducing your time for finding participants. That will also help you with no-shows. If they have to drive for a long time, it's going to take time and time. There's a higher chances that they may actually give up on the day of. Where if it's accessible by subway, it's downtown, it's going to be a lot easier. You're going to have a lot less people that will cancel on you, okay? But the screening, the agency will deal with the no-shows. They will deal when the participant is late. The screening agencies will call the lab and they will let the lab facility know that someone is late. So you're not going to have to deal with it. You can just focus on your session, conducting the session. So, okay, let's continue with the next items. So, just want to make sure that we're good on time. 12:35 to time really goes fast. 1:25. So we have about 10 minutes. Okay. Now, once you have the test, and you're gonna have very specific test deliverables and timelines, and we're gonna follow similar timelines for our assignments for the second assignment. The second assignment comes in multiple, and they all detail in the assignment, which we are going to review tomorrow. But you should start thinking right now. You should really start thinking about. I think we're clear on your objectives because we're going to start from your assignment number 1. So you found for a specific company, you found areas that you think that are problematic for, let's say, Expedia. If you chose Expedia or Meaning in the Box, if you chose Meaning in the Box, as a team, you've already seen areas that you think that are broken. So you already have a sense of user, you have a sense of areas, you have a sense of who you're going to bring in. We are going to do remote. So we are going to do remote. We are going to do either on Zoom or Teams. And let's pretend for participant incentive. We are going to do this assignment. This is all done within this team. So there's no assignment, there's no incentive. It's all free. Start thinking about what a screener. What would be your screener for your test? Look at the reading and look at the handbook of usability, or look on the web if there are examples of screener when you want to recruit, when you do on survey. A screener is a survey. It's a questionnaire. Think of it as a questionnaire, as a survey. If you Google screener for usability testing, you're going to come across multiple of them. But that's going to be something you're going to need to do. But really at this point, you have a user goal, you have areas. Think about the screener. Now, dates. I'm going to share with you what the dates will be for the assignment, but we're going to do, the screener will be step number 1 at this point for us, because we've already answered why we're testing, where we're testing, And then the incentive is $0 because we are doing it with us as a class. But one of the assignment, I think the final assignment is with real people. It's going to be friends and family. You're not going to give them money. But you will know normally in normal life you would if you were with real customers. So right now it's thinking about your screener, but let's just go through more details if there's more. But the assignment in the lab has a lot more detail as well. But the assignment number 2 will have all the details that we need to. And you have to look at assignment number 2. You should. Some of you are still probably thinking of assignment number 1, but okay, so you should see this is the assignment number 2. So I'm talking about, and this is what we're going to do now. So it's assignment number 2 is usable testing. It's in-person moderated. It's actually not in person. It's actually being remote. We are going to be online, and my screen just froze on me, but I was told that you can hear me in this situation. But it will take a while before my screen actually gets back to me. Can someone confirm that you can hear me well and see me as well? I cannot read Blackboard. I'm frozen on the assignment screen, so I need someone on voice. So I think this is a yes.
We can hear you and we can see you, but we can't see the screen moving.
You can hear me, but you cannot see any screen? Okay, so let me just go here. So I highly encourage, and you should, I highly encourage you to look at the assignment number 2 for, and this is where tomorrow the lab in the afternoon is all about assignment number 2. But I encourage you to look at the assignment number 2. And this is where you're going to find all of the details. And tomorrow we're going to review as well together. But between now and tomorrow, look at the details of assignment number 2. This is done in your team. So you all have a team. You already have all a website or a mobile app that you want to be testing, that you've done evaluation. And then this assignment number 2 will be completed over the next 3 weeks. So this week we're preparing our tests. So the screener is very, very important for you to prepare. If there's a questionnaire that you want to prepare as well, I'm trying to go down to the details of my this, but I'm frozen on that screen, so bear with me. I'll see if I can open up a new tab. Chrome is frozen, I think. Apology. Okay, so sorry for the inconvenience. So I can see that you all still here by, I don't know if it's Chrome, and I know that some of you said that Chrome is causing challenges, but I'm back. You should see on screen the date. So this week is where this assignment number 2 will go over the course of 3 weeks. This week we are preparing the test. Next week we're going to do moderation. So the lab for next week will be about each team will do moderating the usability testing. You're actually going to do the test. You're going to be testing, you're going to be the moderator, and then some of you will be observers, some of you will be participants, and then I'll play the role of participant in the teams as well. Don't worry about next week, but we have to plan the materials. So, and then tomorrow we're gonna do the lab. You're gonna have time to think about work on your planning materials as well. But you're gonna have some work you're gonna need to do outside. So you need to submit the test plan and the script by February 7th. So that is like next week, next Tuesday, I believe, or Wednesday, or maybe even earlier. So I don't have my calendar in front of me. Just say. So you're gonna need to do some work outside. So the February 7th is Sunday, so that I have time to be able to give you feedback, because on next week, on the next lab of next week, we're actually going to be doing the real session. And then the following week, we're actually going to be looking at the raw data and the overview. And then we're going to do the analysis and insight recommendations, and then your final usability test report submissions at the 25th. So we cannot wait to the 25th to do everything. So we have to prepare. This week we're preparing. And the material, the planning material, will be everything that you need to do in for you to be able to conduct a session. So the screening, the screener, the moderator script, and the test scenario. What will be the test scenario as well that you're going to be following? There's the NDA as well for the user. So the handbook of usability testing, I believe, has the example of samples. If not, you're going to have to Google them or find a template that you would like to use. But you need to have these, and then the deck goes into more details as well of this. But the screener is one. But I'm very, very interested in the test scenario and the test plan as well, which is one of the elements in the deck that you can also click and link and get more information about. But when we say planning material, it's not just a screener, it's everything that you're going to need. You as a moderator, the screener is one piece, but the test plan and the user test in the areas and what you will want is very, very important as well to come up with. So there are chapters for this week. So there are chapters for this week that talks about planning, and the readings is, let me just go back, week 3. So in the books, chapter 5 talks about the planning of usability testing, is the chapter that is the most relevant for the planning. Now for conducting, it's another chapter as well, but the planning is what we're more interested in this week. So you have the Sunday to submit all of the planning, and I have created in the assignment, there is an assignment for planning. Of course, it's not marked, but at the end of the day, the planning, this was all going to help us to get to the 20%, I think, of the mark, and then all of this will contribute to the 20% mark for this assignment, which is doing usability testing. So in this assignment, we are getting ready, and then we're planning, and then we're going to conduct, we're going to do analysis, you're going to do a report. So we're doing the usability testing moderated and remote, and then the other assignment will be non-moderated, and it will be it's online. It's done through a survey. There's no moderator, and that's going to be a different assignment. Now, if I feel that we need to have more time for this assignment, then that we'll need to revisit at, when the time comes. But so far, these are the dates, and we want to be able to do everything that we need to do. We need to follow this schedule. But if I feel that the team is struggling, then we may be able to have maybe a week extension in maybe one of the steps. The moderating is not too difficult. It's an important step, but getting ready and preparing is very, very critical. We need to make sure that we have the right user scenarios as well, that we're testing the right things, the right area. By now, you should know what those areas are. So we are done for today's session, but for this assignment, you're going to need to do some reading and some work outside of the class. Tomorrow we are going to be doing, we're only going to be talking and working on getting the material ready. So tomorrow we have 2 hours. It's going to be a work sessions where you're going to be working on your planning material as teams, and then go through the assignment, through the details. Make sure you understand the instructions. If there are any questions tomorrow, we get clarity. Tomorrow we're going to read more in the details of the assignment as well. But we are right into now. We're going into testing and getting ready and the first stages of planning. There is a lot of material in the PowerPoint for this week that will give you more insights about your helping with the planning. The books has a lot more insight as well that you can read. It's chapter 5. And tomorrow you're going to have the time to work as teams on the planning material so that you have the test plan and the script as well that the moderator will be using as well. So this is it. This is the end of this session. Any questions or any comments? And we're going to work on this. We're going to go through this together. So don't worry. But if you can at least get very familiar with the assignment and get a feel for what you're going to do and what will be submitted and the dates, and then start searching on script or usability test scenario as well to help you and guide you, that will be awesome. And we'll see you tomorrow. Are there any questions about today?
I just wanted to confirm. So
yes.
basically, all of these due dates are just structured in a way so that by February 25th, we'll have like the full report done. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, sounds good. And this is done with our same groups as the heuristics analysis.
Yeah, so this is the same group, the same website that you've been working on for assignment number 1. Your assignment number 1 now is what you will be using for to answer a lot of these questions for assignment number 2. Absolutely. Okay. So yes, at the end on February 25th, this is where I'm going to get the final usability test report of what happened in the test, what we found, and then all the issues, what you found, and maybe in the order of priorities. It's going to be similar a bit to the heuristic, but you're going to be talking more about what you've done in the testing and who came to the testing and what you found in the testing. But each week it's like each week has a deliverable so that we can get to February 25th to the end with a usability test report.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. So I will see you tomorrow for the lab, and tomorrow you're gonna have a chance to work on the deliverables as well, and then I'll be there as well to give support and answer any questions that you guys have. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.